I'm 33 years old, and my wife Clara is just a tad younger at 32. We've always had this tight connection, something real special between us. Back in high school, we were that couple everyone knew would stick together, and when she got pregnant, we figured it was time to tie the knot. Sure, her being pregnant kinda pushed us to make it official, but honestly, our relationship was already rock solid long before that. Through all the years, we've kept that closeness, and our time together in private has always been something I cherish, full of warmth and satisfaction. Most of our life together has been pretty darn happy, with only a handful of rough patches here and there. That said, raising our boy hasn't been a walk in the park by any means. Ever since he was a tiny thing, he's been hit with one sickness after another, and at first, the docs thought it was just anemia. But as he grew into his teenage years, things took a turn for the worse. He started having seizures all the time, struggling to catch his breath and just wiped out afterward. No matter how much rest he got, the kid was always dog-tired, and he'd get these dizzy spells and sudden vertigo out of nowhere. We'd usually only figure out something was wrong when we got blood work done since he was sick so often, and it drove us up the wall not knowing why it kept happening so randomly. I always felt awful seeing him suffer like that, especially since no one in my family has ever dealt with anything like this, and we never bothered with genetic testing to see if it came from somewhere specific, figuring it might not even be inherited. So, I just kinda assumed it must have come from Clara's side of the family tree. The doctors ran their tests, and they kept pointing to anemia, which could either be passed down or something he picked up, leaving us clueless about the real source. It changed everything for our little family, and we just had to adapt to this being our everyday reality. Thankfully, we switched to a different doctor, and he finally figured out it was celiac disease. Once we cut gluten out of his diet, it was like he turned into a regular kid again, full of life. Turns out, celiac disease runs in families, meaning it's something you inherit from your folks. Strangely enough, Clara and I were over the moon about this diagnosis because, for the first time ever, we had a way to manage his flare-ups, and we wouldn't have to keep living our lives around hospital trips or being ready to rush him to the ER at the drop of a hat. After 14 long years, we finally felt a sense of relief wash over us. But little did I know, this was just the start of a storm that would tear my marriage apart. Figuring out where he got this disease from was gonna hit us like a freight train and unearth a secret Clara's been holding onto for 15 years, something only she could explain. The doc suggested that both Clara and I get blood tests to see which side of the family passed it down. We went ahead with the tests, and they came back negative, showing no signs of celiac antibodies in either of us. We tried a second round of testing, and the results didn't change one bit. At our next appointment, the doctor looked downright puzzled and straight up asked if our son was adopted. We told him no, plain and simple. He didn't push further, but man, the air in that room got thick with awkwardness, and I couldn't help but notice Clara shifting uncomfortably in her seat. Driving home from the doc's office, I was quieter than a church mouse, lost in my own head. My mind kept drifting back to when our boy was conceived, and I remembered making a half-hearted joke about getting a paternity test since I was still using protection back then. I figured she'd either flip out or get all defensive, but all she needed to do was laugh it off to put my mind at ease. Truth is, I was just kidding around, but now, more than ever, I wish I'd kept my mouth shut. She knew I wasn't serious, but now doubts are creeping in like never before. I didn't have the guts to bring it up with her, even though the idea felt like a punch to the gut. I've raised that boy since the day he was born, he's my everything, my pride and joy. All those sleepless nights, the heartache, the pain we went through, and now the thought of some betrayal I couldn't even imagine, it's too much. The possibility that he might not be mine is something I can't wrap my head around. I was terrified to even consider a DNA test, scared stiff of what it might reveal. But eventually, I worked up the nerve to order a test kit online and send it off. When the results came back, my whole world shattered into a million pieces. I'm at a complete loss, unable to make sense of it. Clara and I went to college together, and we've had so few real issues over the years that I always believed Clara and I had a pretty darn good life together, or at least that's what I thought. Our work schedules lined up nicely, and not once did I ever think something shady was happening behind my back. But now, I'm hit with the gut-wrenching truth that this boy ain't my son. When Clara got home that day, she walked in to find me sprawled out on the floor, a half-empty bottle of whiskey right beside me. I didn't even realize she was there until she shook me, trying to snap me out of it. I looked up at her and flat out asked who the real father of our kid was, and she stepped back, her face turning red with shame. Then, with a sharp tone, she fired back that I'm the father, like I was crazy for even asking. I told her straight up she's been lying to me, deceiving me for 14 long years. I let her know I did a DNA test, and the results proved he ain't mine. She had the nerve to ask if she could see the test results, but I shut that down, telling her no way and to just answer the blasted question. Instead of coming clean about who the biological dad is, she tried to flip the script on me, muttering about how I had the audacity to get a paternity test for our boy, as if I was the one in the wrong here, making it sound like me checking the truth was worse than her stepping out with another guy, bringing a child into our home 14 years ago, and tricking me into raising him as my own, trying to pin the blame on me for daring to uncover her secret. I shot back that she's the reason our son has been suffering all these years, 14 years of pure torment. She knew the truth behind it all, or at least she should have, but she let me go through hell just to keep her dirty little secret hidden. She did everything she could to dodge the issue and point fingers at me, and I finally laid it out. If she didn't tell me who the real father was, I'd track down every single guy she's talked to or hung out with over the past 14 years and demand DNA tests from each one of them. My eyes were bloodshot, burning with rage, and she could tell I wasn't messing around. She couldn't hold out any longer and broke down, admitting he was the son of a coworker from an old job she had. She confessed she'd fallen for this guy for about a month, and they'd been intimate a few times before she ended it, claiming it was because she loved me too much to keep it going. I never had a clue, not a single suspicion, and I was just living my happy little life until this bombshell dropped. Now, I can't trust a word she says, and I can hardly bring myself to look her in the face. I thought we had it all, everything we ever wanted, and we were even planning to start a family when she got pregnant. We were content, man, I was truly happy, and now I can't shake the feeling that my whole marriage has been nothing but a sham. We've got a big house, fancy cars, a comfortable life with no money troubles, but I've lost the one thing that mattered most to me. She tried to downplay it, saying it was just a one-time thing, that she felt like being spontaneous, craving something different, but I ain't buying it. This wasn't just a fib, my entire life feels like a lie now, and I'm left with nothing but empty, meaningless stuff. She ain't the woman I thought I knew, he ain't my boy, and deep down, I feel like I'm all alone, without a child of my own blood. I couldn't stop the tears from falling, couldn't hold it together. I just couldn't stay in that house a second longer. I picked up the phone, called my boss, and spilled everything, telling him I wouldn't be at work for a while and needed some time away. He could hear the pain in my voice and got real concerned about how I was holding up. He insisted on driving over to check on me in person, make sure I wasn't in a bad place. I ain't super tight with my boss, but he showed up at my doorstep and took me out to a restaurant that night, just to get me out of the house for a bit. Later, he told me it reminded him of a buddy of his who found out his kid wasn't his and ended up hurting himself over it, so he wanted to be there for me, to make sure I had someone in my corner. He pushed me to take a break from everything, to go do something I've always dreamed of but never had the chance to because of all my family duties. I've always wanted to see the world, travel far and wide. The only place I've been outside the country is Costa Rica, and that's because I've been grinding at work to provide for my family, always wanting to be close by in case my son had an emergency. That's why we never took many trips. I've had this itch to visit developing countries, somewhere safe but different enough to blow my mind with a whole new culture. After my boss brought it up, I felt this sudden spark of happiness, like a weight lifted off me. It was a welcome distraction, a chance for a fresh adventure. Clara and I always dreamed of traveling to places like Tanzania, Botswana, and Thailand, so I figured this could be the perfect chance for me to make that happen. She accused me of just running away from my troubles, but I shot back that I needed some breathing room to clear my head. And man, it gets even heavier. I can't see my boy the same way anymore. It ain't his fault at all, and I loved that little rascal even before he came into this world, but those feelings just ain't there now. It's like he's someone I've taken care of all these years, but he's not truly my son. This whole mess has ripped away the bond one felt with him, with her, with everything I thought I had. I went ahead and applied for a tourist visa to Tanzania, and I got it approved in just 48 hours. I had a lot to look forward to, and I'd tell anyone going through a rough patch like this to pack up and head somewhere completely different, somewhere with a culture that's a world apart. It's the ideal way to take your mind off things for a little while. It wasn't the perfect season to be in Tanzania, but the change of scenery did wonders for my state of mind. For a few hours at a time, I didn't have to dwell on my son or Clara, just focused on the local folks and the stunning nature around me. I had a blast snorkeling, cruising on boats, and soaking in the way people looked at you with real warmth in their eyes, even though they didn't know me from Adam. It was exactly the kind of break I needed right then. But after spending a week in Lamu, I headed back home to sort out my life. I made up my mind to divorce Clara. The moment I stepped back into the house, all I wanted was to turn around and go right back to where I'd just been. This place don't feel like home anymore, not with her here. I can't even stand to look at her face. Her voice grates on me, and I've turned cold toward the boy, which tears me up inside and makes me feel like absolute garbage. He's a bright kid, and he's already picked up that something's off, but I can't seem to stop myself. I'd never abandon him, not in a million years. Still, I feel this distance between us, and I reckon part of it is because this news is so fresh and raw. Whatever the reason, I know this can't keep going on, and I've got to put an end to it. My marriage ain't the same no more. Clara begged us to try marriage counseling, claiming it was a one-time mistake from way back when, and that she's been faithful ever since, or at least, that's her story, saying she never stepped out on me again after that fling. I was careful, always using protection when we were together, and yet she got tangled up with some old coworker who wouldn't leave her alone. She knew 14 years ago that the baby wasn't mine, but she kept up the lie for all this time. How am I supposed to believe a single thing that comes out of her mouth now? I told her I want a peaceful divorce, something fair, so I can have space to start healing from all this. We'll have to split custody of my son, and legally, I'll still be his dad. Deep down, my care for him hasn't vanished, and I don't blame him for any of this, but I'm scared about whether I'll ever feel the same way toward him if Clara keeps agreeing to everything I demand, and that uncertainty eats at me. I've told my soon-to-be ex-wife that she needs to reach out to the biological father. It's high time the whole truth comes out into the open. She wanted to keep it hidden from him, just like she did from our family and friends. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I agreed, on the condition that I get to tell my parents about everything before the divorce gets finalized. Breaking this kind of news to them ain't gonna be a walk in the park. Even with all this chaos, I'm still young enough to start over, maybe build a new family someday, and I'm hoping that'll help me move past this betrayal. The divorce proceedings are rolling along, and right now, I'm focused on finding a new place to call my own, leaving the house to Clara and our son. Hey, thanks for listening to my story. If you found this helpful or relatable, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button for more. Catch y'all next time, and take care of yourselves.